Tapati Advaita Gosai Tava Kripa Bole Pai Caitanya Nitai Aha Prabhu Aha Swarup Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Vata Yoga Shijivaha Prabhu Lokanatha Dayakara Acharya Prabhu Srinivasa Acharya Ramachandra Sangamage Narottamodasa Ramachandra Sangamage Narottamodasa Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dayakara More Toma Vina Kedoyalo Nitanitai Toma Vina Kedoyalo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Shri Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Shri Radha Govinda Madhava ki, Shri Caitanya-Caritamrita ki, Harinama Sankirtanam ki, Brihat Madanga ki, Shri Gaur Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Shri Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namani, Namaste Saraswate Devi, Gauravani Pracharine Nivasesha Sanyavadi Pastacharya Shatani. Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Namacharya is going on Sankirtan. Morning to night he goes on Sankirtan. Is tractor kirtan, huh? Yes. Collecting the stones. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jai Shri Chaitanya, Hare Krishna. Please forgive me, Gopaswami Prabhu. Actually, he invited me, but out of etiquette, and I disrespectively accepted this situation. Where are we reading from?
1193.
Adi Lila, chapter 1, text 93. Oh, there's a marker, not quite, almost. '93. Is that right? Krishna Bhaktira. Particularly this particular volume discusses the foundation of this Hare Krishna movement, philosophically speaking. And sometimes it's a little deep and hard to grasp. It's like if we study even Madanga properly, that is. There's a whole science, in the beginning you don't really play any tunes. It's just a matter of learning the science of the Madanga. The same thing with cooking, deity worship. In one sense, everything is like that. You have to learn the actual science, the actual not just what we see on the surface. But what is the root? It's like a plant. We see the beautiful rose, or we see some other beautiful flower or plant, whatever it may be. But it's under the ground, just like our Giri Govardhan Prabhu is working hard now to prepare the ground, so that when the little plants come, the roots can make the work easier for the roots, so that they can flourish. And then the plant will grow properly. Without proper roots, we get the wrong effect. You may get something, but it won't be the proper thing. So roots in Krishna conscious sambandhas means the initial connection, knowledge, understanding of the basic root principles of devotional service. So this first volume particularly, and the second, the first Adi Lila, but specifically this first volume reveals goes further than just the roots, of course, but it establishes the roots. What are the foundations of Krishna consciousness? It's not just a philosophy that we like. It's actually connecting with our very selves, the very source of our existence, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and how to do that. The basic foundation is there. And then we move on in the other. Of course, everything is throughout the whole of it, this great book, this Caitanya-Caritamrita, the nature of the living entity in our eternal situation is basically the meaning of this book, Caitanya-Caritamrita, compiled specifically to give all of us, to give the whole world the opportunity to associate with the Yuga avatar, the Yuga avatar for this age, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has come to give in this age this wonderful Sankirtan movement, the process of chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is so easy. Anyone can adopt it if they wish. It is the easiest process of God realization and fulfilling all of our desires. We have many, 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 many desires. We do not realize the root of those desires is to completely satisfy the self, not just the mind, not just the senses or intellect, or temporarily satisfy our false ego, but to satisfy the soul, completely to satisfy the soul. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in a very palatable way, has given us this opportunity to hear the holy name of Krishna, to chant and hear the holy name of Krishna, and to render service to Krishna, to keep us connected with, or to reconnect us with Krishna. Our position in this material world is a result of by our own will, of desiring to experience separation from Krishna. And consequently, we're contacting Krishna's material energy and experiencing duality, experiencing so many ups and downs and anxiety and sufferings, and sometimes a little relief in the form of happiness. But ultimately the souls are not satisfied. They're not satisfied. It doesn't take much to become dissatisfied in this world. It does a little tiny thing. So Lord Chaitanya is giving us it looks a little tiny thing, but he's giving us a very big thing, which will completely satisfy us. The Sankirtan movement is so all universally satisfying. Benefits everyone, not just a few humans. Even the trees, even the thorn bushes, everything is benefited by the Sankirtan, the chanting of the holy names. Every living entity, even the non-moving living entities is described are benefited by this Sankirtan. This is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is a form of Krishna. He's come in the form of a devotee, you could say, but he's actually inundating the world with love of Godhead by spreading this Sankirtan movement, this chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, the names of God. For every one of us, we just have to take it. As with the food, the prasadam, which we distribute, you simply have to take it and one gets spiritual benefit. We may not know it, but it goes on. like this. We take it, we eat it. Very nice. We were watching an amazing early days. I don't know what year, 1970 maybe. One television program. One man there, I can't remember his name. Some of you may have seen. He's sitting around with the devotees, just like a loving father, with a whole group of 50 shining young devotees. Bright-faced Jayadvaita, bright-faced Satsrup. Even Bhagavan was there also. Rupa, Nuga, Bharadwaj, Rukmini. So many devotees sat there and in the audience, and he's just talking very, 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 it's very sweet, extremely sweet, asking them questions and then kind of laughing and you know, I can't digest that, you know, what about that? And he's like going on and on. It's just amazing, and everyone's laughing, and it's a television live program. Then they offer him and then Rukmini comes up with a plate of sweets and different things and said, this is this is what we do, this is a feast, this is what we offer you. And he's looking at it, surprised, and said, come on, she's very innocent, take some, come on. And like, you know, a father with their daughter or something, okay, tried a little bit, come on, take more. She's going like this, and take a Simply Wonderful. And he says, Simply Wonderful, and he eats it away, you know. He said, oh no, that's enough, I feel full now, he said. But he took prasadam, right there on the television program. It's kind of amazing innocence, and so simple, Krishna consciousness, so simple. And similarly with the holy name, we just drink it through the ears. And it sounds a little odd. How can you pour it? But it's sound vibration, oral reception, and it has therapeutic effect, purifying effect on our consciousness. Not just on the mind. The mind is one thing, but it has a therapeutic effect on our consciousness also. Entering through the ears, in the Chaitanya Mangala is described there by Lochan Das Thakur. I think I may have mentioned a few weeks ago how the ears are just like the openings. When one's doing a yajna, there are different types of yajna. We're doing yajna means sacrifice, ceremonial sacrifice usually. But it can also mean any kind of sacrifice, giving up something. So we're chanting the holy names instead of singing some mundane songs. This is the sacrifice, the yajna for Kali Yuga. Yajna is Sankirtanam, prayer, this age of Kali. So in this age of Kali, this is comparing the sacrifice for this age, the chanting of the holy name, with a Vedic or ancient sacrifice where they pour ghee into the fire and so on. And it compares, when Lochan compares the ears, just like the sacrificial openings in the fire, sacrificial openings, and the tongue is like the ladle, which is pouring the ghee into the fire, the holy name being poured into the fire of the heart through the sacrificial openings. And then in the heart, just like the fire, when the ghee goes in, the fire is right, the heart, the fire blazes up, big fire. So similarly in our hearts, a blazing fire of ecstatic devotional service ignites. When we hear carefully the pure ghee, if you don't put pure ghee in, you're going to get something else, spluttering and splattering maybe, smoke, something or another. Pure ghee, and then the ignition is there. Because the fire has to be there also, the pure devotees, the association, there has to be some fire there. But this is the process, hearing carefully through the ear, the receptacle, to ignite the flame of love of Godhead in the heart by pure chanting of the holy name of Krishna. This is the special mercy of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So let us drink that holy name through the ear carefully, as Rupa Goswami emphasizes Kinvadaram, Anudinam, that we should always chant and carefully chant, so that the sound has that purifying effect on our mind and then the consciousness, which is focused on the mind. Whatever the mind thinks, the consciousness is like going here and there. And if we fill the mind up with the holy names, Krishna Katha, then our consciousness also becomes attracted to Krishna instead of to the material objects. This is the process of transformation of our consciousness. So we'll read the verse now. Krishna Bhakt. No, that's not. Was it 93 or 94?
93.
90 what?
93.
93. Very short verse, huh? Just one line. Is that right? Prashabdena moksha abhisandir api nirastaha iti. Prashabdena moksha abhisandir api nirastakiti. Moksha abhisandir api. Prashabdena moksha abhisandir api nirasta iti. Prashabdena moksha abhisantir api nirasta iti.
Prashabdena moksha nirasandi
It's a funny line. Anybody else? No? Really? Ah. Trying. He's trying back there. Anybody else? Prashabdena moksha bisandir api nirasta iti. Prashabdena moksha bisandir api nirasta iti. Ladies. Prashabdena moksha bisandir api nirasta iti. Prabshabdena. By the prefix pra, means going before. Moksha abhisandihi, the intention of liberation. Api, certainly. Nirastaha, nullified. Iti, thus. Translation and purport. The prefix pra in the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam indicates that the desire for liberation is completely rejected. Projitaha. The previous verse was dharma projita, so projita, completely rejected. Okay, any questions? That's it. I don't know what happened. You were getting me all excited about the verse, but it seems like it's a different verse, unless you're reading in between lines. I'm not sure. There is a purport. This is an annotation by Sridhar Swami, the great commentator of Srimad Bhagavatam. That's it. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Well, I guess I'll go on to the next verse because, what can you say? It's just a little description of the usage of words in the Sanskrit. It's like with Sanskrit. It can take many, many years before you can put anything. I think even in any language it's like that, isn't it? You have to learn a lot of things, grammar and conjunctions and genders and all sorts of things. And tenses and on and on. Any subjects like that. So a little touch of grammar there, a little touch of Sanskrit rather. Composition, Bengali composition. No, it's a Sanskrit verse. There's many Sanskrit verses in Caitanya-Caritamrita. The one it's describing was one of them. Text 94. Krishna Bhaktira Bhadaka Yata Shubha Shubha Kama Seha Eka Jivara Agyana Tomo Dharma. Translation. All kinds of activities both auspicious and inauspicious, this is your verse, thank you, both auspicious and inauspicious that are detrimental to the discharge of transcendental loving service to Lord Sri Krishna, are actions of the darkness of ignorance. We're going to repeat that, please repeat. All kinds of activities, both auspicious and inauspicious, that are detrimental to the discharge of transcendental loving service to Lord Sri Krishna, are actions of the darkness of ignorance. Something to think about today, isn't it? It's a good idea to carry the message through our day, you know. To try to, you know, at least take one message for the day. We may not be able to contain that many, but at least one message which we could apply in the day. Something which may remind us of more than just our conditional nature or the conditional natures of others around us. Something which will remind us of our goal. Here in this verse we can see, well, we can see our present activities, all kinds of activities, whatever we're doing, whether they're classified as auspicious or inauspicious from a relative point of view. But then we can see it from another angle, from the spiritual point of view. Now, is this detrimental? Interesting word. Detrimental. To the discharge, is it detrimental? Is it favorable? So, of course, most people won't even think of this. They don't have this opportunity, at least not right now, of even comparing this or even considering it. Is it detrimental? That means, is it favorable or not? Is it unfavorable, basically, to my spiritual life? So if we have a goal, now people in general will also take the same principle. For instance, if we were trying to, just like our local farmers, now they may be planting seeds or whatever they're doing at this time of the year, or maybe a little more than that. Whatever it is, they're very careful. What is detrimental? Is this detrimental to my goal? Their goal is to obviously produce a crop of some, whatever, wheat or whatever they're growing. Sunflower, whatever it is. So their thing, is this detrimental or not? You know, planting the seeds at this time, plowing the field at this time, etc., plowing in this field. They'll be thinking of this. Is this favorable or unfavorable for my goal? My goal is to produce a good crop, presumably. So setting one's goal, knowing what one's goal in life is very important. We sometimes forget the goal. It probably could apply that to more or less everything that goes on in the world. What is our goal and what is favorable to achieve the goal? So a devotee, as aspiring devotees, aspiring servants of devotees, it's good for us to remember our goal and to remind ourselves what is favorable, what is unfavorable, and try to accept that which is favorable and reject that which is unfavorable. Principles of devotional service, surrender. And then, because the purpose is that are detrimental to the discharge. So we're not actually necessarily pinpointing the ultimate goal, but the process to reach the goal. So out of sentiment, sometimes people will just say, oh yes, Krishna, everything is Krishna, I can do any damn thing I like. It's all Krishna. I like to serve Krishna this way, that way, this way, that way. But that's not the process. You can't love somebody by doing whatever we like. We have to find out what they like. And we may have to learn how to do it the way they like. So there's a process of learning how to please Krishna. It's called devotional service in practice. And that may become spontaneous when we actually love Krishna. The discharge of transcendental loving service to Lord Sri Krishna, anything which is unfavorable, this verse says, to that goal, the goal of loving Krishna, through the process of practicing devotional service, anything unfavorable to that is an action of the mode of ignorance. Mode of ignorance means, of course, different things to different people, but basically it means to ignore. Ignoring Krishna. And then we come under the influence of the material energy, which is then called ignorance. Under the mode of ignorance, where we're forgetting our spiritual identity, we're forgetting our relation with Krishna, we're forgetting the means of establishing or re-establishing our relationship with Krishna. So that's ignorance of one kind. Different kinds of ignorance within the material world, but the basic ignorance of the soul is our forgetting our connection with Krishna, ignoring Krishna. Purport. The poetical comparison of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda to the sun and the moon is very significant. It's Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Godade Pushpavanto Chito Shamotamonudo. The Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are just like the sun and the moon. They've arisen, just like when the sun arises on the eastern horizon, everything becomes enlightened. So Lord Chaitanya, on the altar on the left side here, we have Lord Chaitanya. On the very left, Lord Nityananda. And I'm just remembering now, 1975 in December, you were here, Gopaswami Prabhu, on that freezing cold day, freezing blizzard blowing. And here we are in this temple room here with no heating. And it's so cold. And I can still remember my feet going blue. Unlike the other devotees were jumping up and down and moving around, I was the bell ringer, and I had to stand still for 1 hour or more on the marble, right over there, somewhere over there. I can't remember exactly where it was, somewhere over there, somewhere near Shamashakta there. And my feet were just totally numb. I could feel nothing after that. They were just blue. Ringing the bell, right next to Lord Nityananda. He was just right next to me. I just stood there throughout the whole ceremony. Bell ringer. Ding, 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 ding. And others were moving around, jumping up and down, dancing and so. Lord Nityananda is so merciful. Oh, merciful. Stone-like hearts, but he's so kind. In his presence, even our stone-like hearts can melt. They may be as hard as the flint over there. We were out in the field yesterday with the flint. Even as hard as flint. You can hardly break it. It's so strong. And even if we're stone-hearted like flint, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, the heart can begin to melt. So Prabhupada goes on. They're like the sun and the moon. The sun and the moon light up everything. Krishna Surya Sam Maya Haya Andhakara. That wherever there's the sun, there cannot be darkness. Similarly, wherever there is Krishna, there is no ignorance. There's no Maya. We have to just stay in the sun. Keep in the sun, there's no darkness. We stay still, the sun might set. We have to keep in the sun. Keep in the sun. But basically means we just have to keep in practicing devotional service under the direction of the Supreme through his devotees like this, practicing. Chanting, hearing, serving, and so on, worshipping the deities, and reading Prabhupada's books or Shastras bona fide. Like that. The living entities are spiritual sparks, and their constitutional position is in devotional service to the Supreme Lord, in full Krishna consciousness. Right now we're like little sparks. Sometimes we come in contact with a little bit of fire, we become a little bright, a little spirited, a little enlivened, and then we associate with something else. The water, you could say, of the material world, and we become a little disheartened, a little bit discouraged. Or we associate with our minds, which are a result of countless lifetimes in this material world. And because of ignorance, we identify ourselves with the mind. And we work hard to fulfill our mind's demands. And we get upset when they're not fulfilled. And then we create more karma. Or we become elated, it's just the same thing. We become excited when we get them fulfilled. Just entangling ourselves more and more in birth and death, in karma. And wondering why we're, not always satisfied. Or why this is happening to me. Why is this happening to me? You know. But it's not happening to me. It's because me is identifying with what is not me. And it's not me at all. It's not any more me than the television which you may watch. It's just subtle pictures in the mind of this, that, and the other. And then we're got to do this. Like on a TV advertising. The mind is like an incredible advertising company or something. It's incredible. Buy this, do that, come here, don't do this, say that, smoke this, smoke that, do this. It's just like that on the advertisements on the television. They're trying to capture us. And our consciousness is going over there, going over there. The same in the mind. Constantly trying to follow it. And we're trying to use the intelligence to achieve it. How to make this balance, how to get this to work. And it's just a dream, really, in a reality for the soul. And we have to wake up from this never-ending endeavor to do it my way. Well, that's all right, if we know who me is. We don't know who me is. And it here says a spiritual spark. Well, that's from Anu, the tiny living entity, the jiva. A spiritual spark means we're how to say, you can't measure it materially, although it's said to be 1/10,000th the size of a tip of a hair. It is almost like an inconceivability. Elsewhere, Krishna says it's inconceivable. The soul is inconceivable, cannot be seen with material senses. So saying a spark is that the living being from whom consciousness emanates. Every one of us. We're right now as dull as a stone, practically, right now. We're so dull. We haven't woken up yet, to our real nature. So the process of devotional service is to wake us up. So the real living entity is like more brilliant than hundreds of suns, thousands of suns described in the Bhagavad Gita. That spiritual spark. But we haven't woken up yet. We're still under the influence of the modes of nature, so kind of dull, shriveled. We haven't opened up, haven't budded. Just like a little underground almost. Now we're just trying to come above the surface a little bit, but it's very small. The living and there. So our real position is devotional service to Lord Krishna. Like the position of a spark when it's out of the fire. The spark is just, you can't even recognize it. It's just a piece of little dust or something. Don't even recognize a bit of ash or something. But when it comes in contact with the fire, boom, it can blaze up again. We have to come in contact. Tirena Bhakti Yogeni, we have to come through yoga into the contact with the fire of Krishna consciousness or with Krishna. Through this process of proper hearing and chanting and devotional service to Krishna. We may not be in the mood of pure devotion, but when we have the opportunity to associate with a pure devotee by hearing from them how to practice devotional service, that can gradually awaken the spark's actual consciousness. We can begin to wake up from our dream-like material identities. So-called pious activities and other ritualistic performances, pious and impious, as well as the desire to escape from material existence, are all considered to be coverings of these spiritual sparks, or as it says here, actions of the mode of ignorance. Yes, they're still tinged with the mode of ignorance. However, if we follow various activities recommended in the scriptures, perhaps some pious activities are recommended. Most of the religions today are giving some indication towards some kind of piety, be it right or wrong, but the indication is there. It can gradually help the living entity to realize that he's sleeping in this material world and get off the platform of thinking the goal is to improve myself in this world, but to realize I don't belong in this material world. Most people haven't got, maybe you say, I belong in heaven, but that's also part of the material world. It's just a higher plane within the material world. Even the idea of getting out of the material world is not complete. It's not our constitution. Just getting out of the prison is not the goal of life. Because if we maintain our same attitude, we'll come back into prison again. The attitude has to be changed. Our consciousness has to be changed. Otherwise, we'll end up here again, because we haven't got the shelter, the real shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. Krishna gives that shelter through the process of devotional service, and in this age, particularly through chanting of the holy names. How we remember Krishna through chanting, chanting, chanting. The living entities must get free from these superfluous coverings and fully engage in Krishna consciousness. In the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Narto Pashamam Shakshat Bhakti Yoga Dhokshajay, is described there by Sutta Goswami how the miseries that the living entity experiences in this world due to ignorance are superfluous to the soul. It means they're kind of like a different substance altogether. They're nothing really to do with the soul. Any more than watching a television. It has nothing really to do with the perceiver. But when the perceiver identifies with the perceived, you've got a problem. Because then he's controlled by what he perceives. A beautiful person, they look very beautiful, we become consciously attracted to them, or money, or opportunities, or material nature's beauty, or ugliness, or whatever it may be, according to how we perceive it. The object is what it is, we are what we are. It's in between, there is a method of perception, which is covered right now with, of course, the modes of nature. So the idea is to purify our means of perception. So we see things purely, and not just, let's say, according to the mixing of the modes of nature. Just like if we look into a perfectly clear body of water, we can see the objects in the bottom. It's so nice. You look through and you see all the beautiful colors and the fishes. And it's very pleasing to the mind, you could say, because the water is clear. And when you look into a dirty, muddy body of water, you don't see very much at all. So the material, of course, we're seeing something reflected on this material nature, so to speak, in terms of this. But we're not seeing it in its real nature. We're only seeing it on the surface. Just on the surface. Just like if you look in a muddy body of water, you see the surface. Some oil, some garbage, some whatever it may be. So similarly, we're just seeing the surface, in the sense of seeing the modes of the material world around us. Sometimes the surface looks nice, sometimes the surface doesn't look nice, relatively speaking. The process of Krishna consciousness is to see beyond the surface, to see much deeper, to see the connection with Krishna, to see it in his spirit. It takes time for all of us, no doubt. But it is a process of purifying our means of perception. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, the great spiritual teacher of our spiritual master, explains that nothing needs to be changed as such. The material world, in a sense, is not within our means to change it. And the soul never changes. It's just a matter of our consciousness, of identification with things. But it's the means of perception which has to be changed. And that means our consciousness. And the consciousness is changed by, mind, what we perceive as well in the mind, by occupying our mind with Krishna, thoughts of Krishna, how to serve Krishna, and so on, using our body in Krishna service, trying to make an environment which is favorable for that purpose of achieving our ultimate objective goals. And that will automatically have effect, depending on how we associate. If we're still drawn to Maya, the illusory energy, we have our free will, then of course there will be a mixed effect. The more we're drawn to 100% mamchayo vyabhicharana bhakti yogena sevate sugunam samatityaitan brahma bhuya kalpate, to fully engaging ourselves in devotional service, we won't fall down if we're fully engaged, but we may not want to be. Fully engaged also ultimately infers the mind as well, but at least externally fully engaged. Fully engaged in devotional service, one can gradually transcend the modes of nature and attain the spiritual platform. So, process of becoming fully engaged in devotional service. And that's not just a concoction, it means under the direction of Krishna's devotee. Not just the way I want to do it. That doesn't necessarily mean that that pleases Krishna. Applying, it's a very common thing to, we have air conditioning, which we're attached to, or whatever, and we take the scripture and we try to find scriptural justification for our position. Instead of the directions which would change air conditioning, we like to take verses which agree with air conditioning, or statements from here and there which agree with my conditioning. So consequently, the air conditioning can become even more rigid. And the danger there is that sometimes then we start to commit offenses to others because, we're trying to establish our conditional opinion or perspective as the real one, and we may not like the other person who's doing the same thing, or maybe they're transcendental, but whatever. But it's not the same as the way I see it. And then we start to argue, or maybe commit offenses, and so on and so forth. And then, of course, our progress in spiritual life is curtailed. And we start to think of other things, material things. So we're very careful. And we're not here just to justify our conditioning. There may be an element of that in the beginning, naturally, varnashram and so on. But it's to get out of this mentality of seeing ourselves as I am, and I'm right, and this and that, and whatever it is. Why are you doing this to me? So on and so forth. It's not an easy one to break. But it's the idea anyway. Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan. The living entities must get free from these superfluous coverings and fully engage in Krishna consciousness. Sutta Goswami goes on to say, therefore, Srila Vyasadeva, by the linking process of devotional service, the living entities can get free of this, these coverings. However, people in general do not know about this. They're not familiar. Devotional service just looks like another activity. It doesn't look like anything specific, like Namacharya going out on the tractor. The farmer's doing the same thing. You guys are doing the same thing. You're after money, you're after flint, you're after food, whatever it is. They don't understand the objective is to serve Krishna. That's understandable. Therefore, he says, Srila Vyasadeva has compiled this literature, this Srimad Bhagavatam, to enlighten us, to wake us up, this knowledge, to, wait a minute, there's more to it than just having a good time. And this is the real process of self-realization. And Prabhupada finishes the purport off. The purpose of the appearance of Lord Nityananda, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda is to dispel the darkness of the soul. Dispel this darkness. Is where dispel, the spell, the word in English is, a lot of words in English are made up of two words. It means to remove the spell, dispel. We're under the spell of the material energy. So to remove it, kill, remove that spell, dispel. Dispel the ignorance. Ignorance. Ignore means to ignore something, to be ignorant of something. So to dispel that ignorance, that darkness which the soul is presently identifying with normality, to dispel that darkness, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda have appeared like the sun and the moon to enlighten us. This is enlightenment. Before their appearance, all these superfluous activities of the living entities were covering Krishna consciousness. But after the appearance of these two brothers, people's hearts are becoming cleansed. We say the heart, we refer to the consciousness of the living entity, with the mind also, but the mind, consciousness is connected to the mind. And they are again becoming situated in the real position of Krishna consciousness. This is the mission of the Sankirtan movement, to give everyone this chance to be re-established in our constitutional position by the performance of Sankirtan. And we quote this sometimes. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has very kindly appeared as Krishna in the form of a devotee, teaching how to love Krishna, how to develop love of Krishna, and himself experiencing love of Krishna. Has appeared in this age, along with his associates. They've appeared for two reasons: to experience the pure love of God, along with the performance of congregational chanting of the holy names. Thus, the Lord, again together with his associates, has spread this Sankirtan movement, this congregational chanting, which is the means of awakening our love of Godhead. He spread this movement even to the untouchables, to everyone, in other words. Doesn't matter who we are. In this way, he has woven, just like the Gavoas make nice garlands for the Lord. He has woven a wreath. A wreath is something which, if you go to a cemetery or anything, you see these round, kind of, not garlands exactly, they're called wreaths, round ones, kind of usually quite tight. A wreath of the holy name and Krishna Prema, with which he's garlanded the entire material world. Everyone's getting this chance to wake up by the performance of congregational chanting. It's not like congregational chanting is just a means to achieve love of God. It's actually, is in its pure form, is love of God. Sankirtan is love of God in its pure form. We just have to purify our Sankirtan. And that's already, automatically, and one is situated in love of Godhead. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Anyone like to add or subtract? Say anything? Sankirtan means together. It also means complete. San means together or complete. So together, we're meant to be together. We're together trying to awaken Krishna consciousness and spread it to others. United. Because the goal should, if we have the same goal, then that understanding of unity can come in. But if our goal is to put ourselves in the center, then of course there's going to be no end of friction, no end of complexity, etc. Okay. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai ho. Hare Krishna.
Janananda Goswami ki jai.